Let's have a nice, relaxing comment, response, and review video. Join me in engineering as we listen to the dulcet tones of the warp core. That's right. Oh yeah, it's all coming together. Welcome to another comment response video. Way down here in engineering, where it's easy to just get forgotten about. Stay down here for hours on end. No one knows you're here. No one knows I'm here. Let's see what happened since our last comment review video. Malo Perverso says, David R. Lentz, Nichelle Nichols, in memoriam perpetua, which I think means always remember. Thanks for that. Short and sweet and to the point. I'd like to see Mr. Adventure explain this story to anyone. Rest in peace, Nichelle Nichols. You will always be missed. December 1932 to July 2022. Nyota Uhura forever. Yeah, Mr. Adventure, eh? Remember that when they were stealing the Enterprise? I just want some adventure. I just want to get out there, and then Uhura gives him some adventure. This isn't reality. This is fantasy. Barbarabobby Scott. The old heads are leaving, I know. The old heads are leaving us. Their beauty, poise, and grit can't be replicated. That's right. Nichelle Nichols embodies all three perfectly. I know. Yeah. Power Cage. The most Canadian story I think I've ever heard. It's hard to hide it. I try to hide it, but it doesn't always work. Edward Harris. He giving birth to Gorn. For this video, I did kind of like a joke video about Hemmer. Sometimes I like to just make these joke videos. Yeah. Thanks for liking it, Edward Harris. I thought that video was funny. BRUNILDA TERNOVA. Why DC Fontana introduced the Illyrians to Star Trek? She used this word and not another. In human history, the population of the Illyrians really existed, and they were the ancestors of today's Albanians. I'm Albanian. Cool. The Illyrians were a group of Indo-European speaking peoples who inhabited the Western Balkan Peninsula in ancient times. P.S. In Albanian language, Una means I am. That's pretty cool that it worked out like that Una means I am. Interesting. You'll note that a lot of times in Star Trek and in other media, we draw fantasy names from ancient history or the Earth as it is now, and we morph them into being alien things. It's very common, but it could have just been an accident. Illyrian just sounds cool, So maybe it was just one of those things where it's coincidence, it happens. But it's a very interesting and informative comment here from BRUNILDA TERNOVA. So thanks a lot. Lieutenant Merrick, do you want $1 million, Lieutenant Merrick? Yeah, Power Cage asked me if he could make a short of something I did, and I was so tired I accidentally hit delete or something instead of reply. I was trying to reply and I deleted it, and then I was amazed that YouTube doesn't let you change your mind. There's no it doesn't say do you really want to delete it. I didn't get a chance. I accidentally deleted it, so I said sorry, I accidentally deleted your reply. Yes, you can re-upload, clip, whatever you want. And then he put a clip here of me saying stuff. You can I'm not going to put the link in this video, or maybe I should, I don't know. But you can go to that video and you can find that link. It's a short. I think it was me saying, you are a tool. I think it was something something came up about engineering. Yeah. Well, Wilford Gray, the stars. When I made that video about the stench of discovery, I think. IAmNotANugget BlackHart. You ought to try and do a live stream of you watching the entire Star Trek Day special. It was somehow worse than last year. Yeah, this video got pretty good views. The problem, though, is that where I am, subspace communication is not that great, and sometimes my outgoing transmission is a little slow, and sometimes that renders live streaming impossible from where I am, in space, But I wish I could. I could if I would. Would if I could. I got that backwards. Undertaker 45. This is on my video, Why the Titan Sucks. I like that video. As usual, I still think that Star Trek is made by Star Trek people for Star Trek fans. It has never been this way since this shit began. You hit two major points on the head. Star Trek is dead. Star Trek is nothing but member berries. Star Trek is dead. Besides, we never saw the Titan in Nemesis, so what are you bitching about? I like the attitude. Said everyone at Paramount Star Trek division. Did you see we have another female cast member? Look at us. Well, there's not much I can add. I think I have two videos that are kind of regarding the Titan A. I don't think there's much I can add. I think I've made my case. Thanks a lot, though, Undertaker 45. I appreciate the effort in this post and the energy. Yeah. What more can I say, really? Go watch my videos on it. The Titan is a classic, the Luna class. It never got the show it deserved. It showed up just to tease us and then disappeared and got replaced with what I personally feel is not a fantastic ship in the Titan A. You may think differently. In a vacuum, the Titan A is beautiful because ships of that design are beautiful. But things don't exist in a vacuum in Star Trek, and there's a lot of canon to work around. And I understand the desire to ignore that. I understand it because fundamentally, creating a TV show is an exercise of producing content that people are going to want to tune in and stay tuned in for so that you can generate the money to keep making more of it. That's what it is at the end of the day. Sorry. IAmNotANugget BlackHart for Why the Titan A Sucks. I'm guessing they're thinking of going back to basic in terms of designing new ships. Even Terry Matalas said to Rob Burnett the other day that he prefers the 23rd century look over all else. Hey, I like the 23rd century look too. I may prefer it to everything else. And to be fair, I actually kind of like his thinking because he's a very utilitarian, somewhat militaristic approach to redesigning old designs, but only with new technology surrounding it. How many 23rd century ships were still in service by the late 24th century? How many of those ships are still in service now in the Picard universe? Probably a lot. I'm guessing there's still quite a few Excelsior and Miranda still flying about. Yep. They're taking those old designs that have been reliable and updating them for 25th century, updating them for a 25th century upgrade. Probably easier than trying to think of a new design for the rest of Starfleet engineers to come up with. All they have to do is look at the old design and they had, and then go back to the drawing board around current technology level and build from there. That's exactly what I proposed in my designing or kit bashing a new Titan A. That's all I did. I just kit bashed the Titan A from things we already had and then brought back an older saucer design. I basically just did what you're saying, and we didn't need to design a new secondary hull and a new dorsal module for the saucer and new nacelle pylons. Thanks a lot. I'm not a Nugget BlackHart with the long post here. I really appreciate that. Power Cage. I've never seen the full glory of her beard before. Yeah, this is just me. I just made a really fast impromptu response to I'm not a Nugget BlackHart since the post was so good. Thanks for the full video response. Yeah, I really am on the fence about the whole redesigning to look more 23rd century, but it made a lot of sense thinking about it in the end when it comes to going back to basics, like what we do in the real world. Exactly. There's nothing wrong with having old ships around, but there's also nothing wrong with continuing the kit bash to create new cool things. We used to do that a lot with when we were around like the Wolf 359 area. Remember all the kit bashes that came out of that from like season like 3 of like TNG? A lot of those ships are fantastic, and I want to see more of it. Like, I liked in Lower Decks when they actually took an Excelsior class and gave it like sovereign nacelles and like a sovereign deflector dish. Like, that's what we need to like keep doing. We need like more of that. We need to get back into kit bashy, and it fits with what you're saying too. Not waste not, want not. Important. But in reality, I think the very oldest ships could maybe get an extensive refit. Like the Miranda kind of has an upgrade, maybe the like you bring back the Oberth, make like a sovereign style Oberth, something like that. That'd be cool. I like the Oberth class. Not everybody does. I like a good ugly ship, if you can't tell. Power cage for room for growth. I remember that Mask episode. Data sure got compromised a lot. He did. Data's a dangerous guy to have around. Data is actually kind of dangerous. Flashback to that Star Trek Picard Season 1 clip where Picard asked if he ever lost faith in Data, and he responds, never. Yes, he did. Yes, he did. Picard and TNG treated Data like a tool. You are a tool. He was a member of the crew. He wasn't special. He just did his job. And Picard would have no qualms about just sending him to his death. Really, in the TNG series, like, super serious professional Picard. He wasn't particularly close to Data. We all know that was Geordi. Geordi went out on a limb to intentionally treat Data like he was a person. He was just like throwing caution to the wind and giving him the benefit of the doubt and just seeing what would happen if we just pretended he was a person and tried to be his friend, which worked well for Geordi because in his character he wasn't really a social butterfly. He wasn't like Barclay, but he was on that track. Like he would like train for social situations in the holodeck without spoiling anything, without getting into it. But that's why I really like Geordi. That's why Geordi was so good in TNG. I think he's underrated. And they kind of just gave that to Picard. Remember originally in Star Trek Picard, they had no intention of having anyone else come back but basically Picard, right? And then as the show gradually started to fail, they had to bring everybody else back. So stupid. Yeah, I like that Mass episode. It's just interesting. Like if you get yourself 7 seasons of TNG and it's almost all good, you can do a strange episode. You can take a risk and do something insane. Masks is an insane episode. And that's why I like it. They earned it. You can earn the right to do a ridiculous episode, like in Lower Decks when they ended up doing a mathematically perfect redemption. I think they earned it. That's why I was positive on that episode. Power cage for room for growth. It's about 25 minutes. And I said, lol. I think it's like I asked, what is this episode about? And you said 25 minutes. Power cage for reflections. Fun fact. The symbiote Dax is only 4 years old right now. The Dax symbiote, or symbiont, whatever you call it, the trill organism that lives inside the humanoid host, has a vast lifespan. Trill are great because they pass on the knowledge gained in their symbiote to like the next host, and the whole culture is designed around having experiences. A new experience is like as valuable as gold to them as it would be to people on Earth, right? So they're always going forward. And in fact, in many instances, it was seen as like taboo or a faux pas to go back. Like you want to detach from your previous life, get your new life, and at the end of its life, the organism's life, its sum total of its experience would be like its measurement of its cultural worth to the Trill. It's really cool. I've never seen anything like it, but so yeah, that Dax is the Dax symbiote, hundreds of years old in Star Trek, but it was born in 2000 something on Earth way back in the day. I don't know. I'm not a historian, but I'm sure you can do the math. Thanks a lot, Power Cage. Kevin Acklin. For reflections. Great review, Lieutenant Mark. I like your on-screen confidence. I don't think I'm a particularly confident person, but thanks. You have a I don't care if I hurt your feeling delivery. I do care if I hurt your feelings. Maybe it doesn't always seem like it, but I do. In how you speak. This episode worked for me also. It had an emotional weight to it, especially in some scenes. And like you, I hope the mediocre episodes are pushed to the front, and that's what's left is going to be great. Knowing what I know now from Season 3 of Lower Decks, I don't think it was as good as Season 2. Season 2 pushed all the best episodes to the end. Season 3 was a little bit more... It sprinkled them out a little bit more evenly. I'd still say the second half was better than the first half, but not as good as the second half of Season 2. Sorry. But Reflections is definitely my favorite episode of Season 3 of Lower Decks. Power Cage, Grounded, that Lower Decks episode. Ketracel White was the drug all those Jem'Hadar Aragoons were hooked on. Yep. I wonder what kind of reaction a human would have to it, though. I don't know. I don't remember if I ever seen a human taking Ketracel White. But the Jem'Hadar, they were like genetically bred to need it by like the Dominion, like founders, who they saw like gods. Like, if you thought Klingons were a natural born warrior, check out Deep Space Nine and just wait till you see a Jem'Hadar. Like, it's so over the top. They're really cool though. It'd be so cool in the future Star Trek series to get like Jem'Hadar that don't need Ketracel White, and they're like independent Jem'Hadar, and they got these cool names too, like Tyranitar. They sound like a dinosaur name. It's so cool. Yeah. I see Ketracel White, and I think back to those. I think back to the hard times in Deep Space Nine. What happened with old Nog there? Remember, he got hurt. No spoilers. I am not a Nugget BlackHart. For my kit bash video on the Titan A, this kit bash looks something similar to the NX-01 concept early on from the front. It does. I refreshed myself on what that looked like, and the early concepts for the NX-01 for Star Trek Enterprise were a little bit like this. It was just like a more fleeting kind of pared back Constitution class. I didn't particularly love it. I'm not in love with the NX-01, but just to keep it simple, I think the NX-01 design for Star Trek Enterprise could have been a lot better. It's a beautiful ship. The NX-01 is beautiful, right? But like I said earlier, it doesn't exist in a vacuum, right? It has to make sense. I think they could have did a little more. Go back and look at like episode either 3 or 4 of Star Trek Prodigy, and there's a moment where, I kid you not, you can see like a redesigned NX-01 like in a holographic display or something, and it looks really cool. Check that out. For Why the Titan A Sucks, Ibbie Santaloci or Santaloci, Promosm. All right. Thanks, bud. I don't know what that means, but thanks. It looks good, I guess. Barry Bend from my Kit Bash video. My issue is the name of the class. Why Neo Constitution? And then I said, I'm not sure if that's literally the name of the new class or just slang for it. Although there actually is an Excelsior 2 class now. ... Yeah, I don't know what this fascination is with the class naming. Okay, like, they want to call it like a Neo Constitution, but naming schemes don't really work like that. Like, there's been, like, how come the Sovereign isn't called a new Constitution? It's close. It's close, but not really. Like, from a distance, you might say, is that a new Constitution? If you were naming it, like, if you followed that naming scheme for classes, which I don't. I mean, look, here's something interesting. Go watch Star Trek Strange New Worlds, and they have the Sombra class, which is exactly the same. It's 95% at least the same as the Constitution class in Strange New Worlds. Yet it's called a totally different class. Sombra class. Okay? So the Sombra class was not called a different Constitution class. But yet Awashikan, who, do not forget, is from the period of Strange New Worlds. She time traveled to the distant future, saw a new class of ship at Starfleet headquarters, and blurted out, "Is that a new Constitution?" Would she say that about the Sombra? We'll never know now, but it's an interesting point. For Here All Trust Nothing, Lower Decks. Good content and analysis. You made me laugh, but pick up the pace. The Paramount logo joke was funny, but you explained it instead of moving on. Yeah, you're right, brevity is the soul of wit. However, I don't plan out any video. I just start talking. A lot of people say that their reviews are like funny. And the truth is, I'm not at all. I'm not trying to make it funny. Like, that was not a goal of this channel. But I guess it just accidentally happens sometimes, and it just sometimes it doesn't work, and sometimes it does because I didn't plan it. But you're totally right. I mean, generally with most things, there's no need to really draw it out. So you're right, I should have moved on. And going forward, maybe I should be better at recognizing when I'm wasting someone's time. So, Jude St. Arnault, thanks. That's a good point, and you're totally correct. Transwarp Dreams, there's a cool name for my Kit Bashing a Titan A video. I agree, that looks pretty awesome. Thanks. Check out my DeviantArt. This is my first love. I really don't care that much about making videos. That's the truth. I make videos just because. Like, I'm not really in love with the idea of making videos. I just do it like I'm breathing air. It's just something that just automatically happens. But my first love is designing ships, and I do it on my DeviantArt. I have a million ships that are all really cool looking, I think. 3D modeled, of course. I modeled these all myself. All those images, they're mine. It's not a composite. I render everything. It's mine. So if you're curious, you can check it out. Transwarp Dreams. Bear. Now there's a name. This has got to be the best name I've seen in the comments so far. Bear. Can we just admit that SED does not exist in the same universe as TOS? It is a cruel joke. Do Organians do jokes? Okay, like, I know what you're saying. Like, man, if you're serious about canon, you gotta do some real mental gymnastics to get Discovery Verse to work in TOS. Like, okay, when you go from TOS to the motion picture, you gotta do a little bit of gymnastics in your brain. That's how the Klingons look, especially. And then when you get to TNG, you don't have to do that much more. But then when they start trying to alter the canon of what was before TOS, with regards to Zefram Cochrane, with regards to the Bonaventure not being the first warp flight, with regards to First Contact, with regards to the founding of the Federation, it doesn't line up that well. So when you get to, say, Star Trek First Contact and then Star Trek Enterprise, you gotta do a little more mental gymnastics, a little bit more than before when we went from TOS to the motion picture. And then when you go to Star Trek Discovery, like the mental, you have to be like a gymnast. You have to be a Olympian gold medalist mental gymnast to make this make sense in your mind. And you can see Star Trek websites starting to blow a gasket, trying to make it make sense. And they're just giving up and merging the article they had on the TOS Constitution class with the Strange New Worlds one, and trying to like make them massage together. And it when you actually logically read it out, what you're discovering is that reality is operating in a totally schizophrenic way in the current real canon of Star Trek. We're designing the Constitution class. We're redesigning it totally. We're making it bigger. We're refitting it a little bit more, and then we're going back to the old one, and then refitting it again. And it's like, in the span of like 10 years, you're taking a ship, overhauling it 100% almost, and then going back to the way it was, and then trying to come up with a logical explanation. And I just know that somebody in the comments is going to have an explanation for why that works like that. But wouldn't it be better if Discovery Season 1 already took place in 3,100 and something? And then we didn't have to worry about that? Wouldn't that be better? I don't know. When you read into it, when you take the time to read into it, and you start to look at like behind the scenes stuff, and you're just thinking like what are you talking about? Like Brian Fuller, allegedly, Brian Fuller insisted in pre-production for Star Trek Discovery that all the ships have like angular nacelles for like no reason. Even though it makes no sense. Why would... I don't know. Like, if you're going to change something, you better gain something from it. You better. I think changing the Klingons, I don't think you gain that much. And you may be surprised to hear this, but I think the alterations in Star Trek First Contact and what we've seen in the pre-TOS canon of Star Trek Enterprise, I think you gained a little bit more from that than changing the design of the Klingons, because when you hammered home the exact true canon of what happened before TOS, it removes confusion. At least they just came out and said it. Like, listen, all that stuff about the first warp flight, no, this is it. And there you go. Now they're trying to play both sides with Discovery. Like, oh no, the ship used to look like this, and then it looked like this, and then they're both true, right? Like, no, like, you can't have Picard in the episode Relics go on board the Constitution-class bridge, as we saw it in TOS, in the holodeck, not find anything strange. This is normal. Yeah, this is how it's supposed to look. And then many years later in Star Trek Picard, look at a holographic display of the Strange New Worlds Enterprise, and like not have his brain blow up. Like, you can't have it. You can't do. I don't want to do both. That's enough about that, though. Brett Brown for my Hemmer video. Rest in peace, Hemmer. Yeah, I agree. Why did we kill Hemmer? Why did we kill Hemmer? Why? Does anybody know why? He was good. He was good. I don't understand. It's gonna go down in history as one of the most inexplicable things in Star Trek since forever. Like, was something going on behind the scenes? I don't know. IAmNotANugget BlackHart for my New York City Comic Con 2022 reaction. Dude, you just gotta stay alive. Okay, yeah. I think you asked this already, and my response is the same. Especially with this immediate reaction video like this. Plus, I'd love to just chat with you about your immediate reactions to my immediate reactions and a lot of immediate reactions there. Yeah, like I said before, I cannot stream from here. It would just be a slideshow. It look terrible. I can't stream anything. It takes me forever to upload a video. Hours and hours and hours and hours and hours to upload a video. I watch an episode. I have to watch it 3 times. I have to watch it, go to sleep, watch it again when I wake up, and then watch it again right before I review it to refresh myself. Create the review. That takes at least 3 hours. Render the skit for the beginning. That takes hours. Upload the video. That's going to take like 6 or 7 hours. And it's the upload speed is not where I need it to be. Also, I love your Twin Peaks reference. SBrundle for reading the Constitution class article. Memory alpha has quickly become unreadable. What with all this non-canon garbage shoehorned in? Yeah, it's Abrams Kurtzman's Trek is cultural vandalism. Yeah, it's like, it's not like Memory alpha has quickly become unreadable with all this non-canon garbage. It's not even that it's non-canon. Like, that's kind of like a non-factor. Like, what it is that there's inexplicable stuff jammed in together. If it was if it was non-canon, but it made perfect sense, right? That would be fine. If you can just expand on old canon and not step on it and not contradict it, that's fine. But shoehorning in logically inexplicable concepts, I don't understand. I don't understand what you get, right? It's like, at least get something out of it. At least make it good. Like, if Star Trek Discovery was really, really, really good, or, maybe I could work it out in my head, but I don't. It's lack of discipline, We're making a show. I remember originally Star Trek Discovery wanted to do its own thing, and then every week that went by, you could tell it wasn't doing that hot. A show is not doing that hot when they have to bring in the old stuff. And Discovery, from the jump, set itself off to be unique and incompatible. Right? That's fine. if they want to do their own thing, and it's good. That's fine. But as it fails, they need to bring in the old stuff. So what you implicitly admit that you were wrong in your original estimation by saying that I wanted to do my own thing with Star Trek Discovery and make this new show by just backpedaling and putting in what the fans wanted. So you have to play this balancing act of looking like it was always your plan to do that when it wasn't. So here's Star Trek Discovery. It kind of sucks. Oh, here comes the Enterprise. Oh wow, look. And okay, the season 1. Okay, maybe season 1 was terrible, but here comes Spock. And then it's like, okay, whoa, we really can't salvage this. Okay, maybe we can go to the future where we can get free of canon. See how it escalates like that? And this non-canon stuff, it's not worth it. That's the best thing I can say about it. It's just not worth it. So yeah, thanks, Brundle. Kerry Gligovoric. This Crisis Point 2 paradox is a lot better than Crisis Point. Who knows, maybe in the future Boimler, Mariner, and Tendi and Rutherford will become senior officer rank and have their own ship like the Cerritos. That would be cool. But I would warn against happy ending stuff for characters, like too much. Like, it should be logical. Okay? If somebody is setting out to be a captain, make them be a captain. But the thing is, that's not for everybody. Like, it always seemed weird to me when we're showing, like, oh, what happened later? Like, at the epilogue at the end of something, and it shows all of our characters, and he became a captain, and she became a captain, and she became a captain, and so he, like, not everybody can be captain. Like, I don't want to be a captain, right? But, that's kind of beside the point. That's just a tangent. What you're saying is that they become senior officers. I hope so, too. And I hope they get their own ship, like the Cerritos. That'd be cool. But it would be more interesting, maybe, like, Rutherford retires to work in a Starfleet Corps of engineers who design a new class of ship that is a medical ship, and Tendi becomes the captain of. Right? Get creative. And then Boimler and Mariner, like maybe Mariner becomes like a Starfleet. She goes to like a Starfleet tactical type position and gets onto a Defiant type of ship who was on a high stakes escort mission for some ship that's making a very important diplomatic negotiation, and the captain of that ship is Boimler. See, doesn't that sound cool? Yeah. Thanks, Kerry Gligovoric. Michael Papp for Crisis Point 2, Paradoxus. I don't always agree with your opinions. I happen to think much higher of Lower Decks and New Trek in general than you. I do, however, always respect your opinions. Thank you so much for being an adult, Michael Papp. I understand. Like, the most mature thing someone can do is disagree. You really gotta think about that. It's really easy to just throw the insults off and just hurl them at people. That's so easy. It's really hard to try to have empathy and try to understand what's going on in someone else's mind. Not everybody has the capacity to do it, but I would urge everyone to try. They don't seem to be derived out of antiquated and harmful biases. I know. Rather, they are of a person who isn't finding as much of what he's looking for in a show. 100% reasonable, if subjectively disagreeable. Haha. So when we agree on an episode, it must be excellent. That's a good point. As an aside, my favorite episode of TNG, and indeed all of Trek, is The Measure of a Man. I like that one too. That's like a top fiver, probably. Yesterday's Enterprise is an excellent choice for a TNG fave. Thanks a lot. I really like Yesterday's Enterprise. I like Measure of a Man a lot. I like Who Watches the Watchers. I like some of those early TNG stuff, like the weird ones, like 10001110, the one with the binars. So, thanks, Michael Papp. If only everyone could be like you, right? Michael Papp, again, for Crisis Point 2, Paradoxus. Personally, TOS isn't as sacred to me as it seems to you. Yeah, I came off... I was struggling to explain... I remember at the end of this review, I was struggling to get across, like, what I meant by this. However, I did feel like the even better comment wasn't needed as well. I just took it as Boimler being a fan of Sulu, more so than Kirk. Sulu being there would make more sense that way, since it was presumably all in his mind. Yeah, you're right. I may have accidentally made it seem like TOS is this, like, impenetrable thing. Like, it's not. Like, I will criticize TOS. Like, it's not perfect. Like, there's some people who will not criticize old Trek ever, which doesn't make any sense. But it's for some reason I read this as a comment from the writers. I don't know why. It just came off very strange to me. He shouldn't have said even better. But actually, you know what he could have said? Like, why didn't he just say that, Sulu's here, you're my favorite? You know? That, since it's in his mind, like, or Sulu, you're just who I wanted to see. Like that? You know what I mean? Like, it just could have been, just give it one more pass in the writing. There's something about that comes off as, like, unnecessarily playing favorites. When in real life, our TOS actors are so old, and any one of them could just die as the minute this episode comes out. If you, like, say something weird like that, my advice would just be to play it safe for the lower decks writers. But yeah, none of this is wrong from Michael Papp. This is totally correct. So thanks a lot, Michael Papp. If you go back and look at that review, you can see me struggling to try to explain what I was thinking. For Mathematically Perfect Redemption, Michael Papp, I felt so betrayed by Peanut Hamper. I completely bought into her redemption story, as did I. I believed it too. Chills broke out all over my body when she said, "I'm Starfleet," and then the badge appeared. That made me angry too. Check out my review. I really like that bit. I'm still angry. She's going to be a great villain for the show. Can't wait to see what she and Jeffrey Combs' characters do together. I always want to see Jeffrey Combs. I will enjoy Combs, just going full ham on villainy no matter what. I will too. He's the best. Brunt? Man, Brunt. FCA. That's gotta be... For some reason, I just love Brunt, played by Jeffrey Combs. He's fantastic. He also plays a good hero, Shran, in Enterprise. By the end of it, he plays a great heroic character. He's so good. He's a great character actor. God, if we could have had Enterprise Season 5, and could have had, like, the Romulan War starting up, and we could have had, like, Shran joining the crew of the Enterprise as, like, a liaison to Andoria. Oh my god. Just imagine officer transfers. We could have had, like, Tellarites and Andorians and Vulcans on the Enterprise, and we could have had Romulans flying around, drones everywhere, and the huge, like, atomic missiles. You know, that's how the Romulan War was fought. Oh my god. And the mystery of who the Romulans are, and they don't know, and it's like this mysterious alien force that we know and they don't. Like, there could have been something so cool there. And Jeffrey Combs would have just chewed the scenery as Shran. Of course, I replied, Lieutenant Mark, here. The "I'm Starfleet" line hit harder than basically any similar line from recent Trek, and then they ruined it at the end. That's what I thought. I know, for some reason, the joke villain character, who may end up being a good villain, right, had the coolest line. And that wouldn't work coming from anybody else, you know? There's something about this kind of mismatched. Michael Papp, again, for the same episode. This episode was a villain origin story. Yeah. Once I understood that, I forgave the betrayal of Peanut Hamper from the writers. She may ultimately be redeemed, maybe not, I don't know. I hope another exocomp shows up to counter her bad sentient computer reputation, like her sibling or parent. Yeah. You know how computers are in Star Trek, though. The minute they gain any kind of sentience, I'm evil now. They're like an admiral. The minute you take their eye off them, New York City Comic-Con 2022. In Prodigy, the Protostar is infected with a virus that will infect any Federation ship they come in contact with. The kids can't go to Starfleet lest they cause major damage, which is what the Diviner wanted. So I don't know why he just didn't let them go and get on with it. Yeah, there is some weird stuff there. Maybe he didn't know their ultimate intention. If he knew, he could have just done nothing and his plan would have been fulfilled. Yeah, this is... The Diviner has that age-old villain problem of... this is very common in movies and stuff. The villain whose plan would have just worked had he not done anything. I see that a lot, because if you're trying to create a good villain who's smart, you have them think ahead, right? So they have a contingency built into their original plan that will solve everything that the heroes might try to do to defeat it. And then what you realize is that sometimes the plan fails because the villain got personally involved. And the villain complicated things and then lost because of himself. I don't know if there's some kind of strange moral story to that, but I often see that, and it makes the original intended intelligence of the villain seem forfeit, right? So the Diviner, he looks cool, sounds cool. I think he's just kind of cool, but he's just got a bog standard revenge plot, and he does the mustache twirling a little bit. I still like him though. But yeah, Michael Papp is right here. Thanks, Michael. Donny Pearson for Kit Bash video. Hello, Lieutenant Merrick. I love this vid. It's what Titan A should have looked like. Keep up the good work, and may you and yours live long and prosper. Interesting image here. I think that's Red from Power Rangers Dino Fury, whatever the new one is. Kind of cool. Michael Papp again. You know Mariner has been in her best behavior this season. Yeah. Her really terrible habits are slowly fading away. And yeah, then why did we make her look so terrible at the beginning of this episode? She was meant to be unlikable at first, for the reasons you don't like her. I think seeing the growth of her character has been pretty great. She was even complimented last episode for her decidedly not Mariner-like behavior. Yes, she was fantastic in Reflections. That makes the start of this episode a lot worse. Running around with pie filling everywhere. She does know better, I guess. It all depends on what a person finds offensive. I didn't care for her making a mess, though I do think it's poor writing. The pie tracks weren't needed. All Mariner had to do was be her usual super enthused self. A whole covered in pie filling. Her covered in pie filling isn't so bad for me. I hated the fact that she left behind tracks. That was unfathomably rude, in my opinion. I like to think of her as being a good ensign, but still a thoughtless and careless person. I don't know. Maybe I think it's the opposite. Think of it like this. I like to think of her as being a good and thoughtful and fun person, but not the best ensign. I maybe think that. It works both ways. She's learning professional lessons. Now those need to be spread into her personal behavior. Correct. It's her behavior in this episode in Trusted Sources. It defies what we saw in her character development up to that point. Like I said, I think I said in this review, you can see the strings on Mariner. You can see the writers puppeteer her into doing things that she wouldn't normally do to make her look worse than she would otherwise be, so that we're tricked into thinking her leaving the Cerritos is justified when it isn't. I don't like when you can see the writing like that. It wasn't right. Just tone it down. Just have maybe Maybe she walks out with pie on her face and it's like, oh, sorry, and then she just wipes it off, like something like that. Like, what? Messing everything up and getting getting pie filling on the floor. Horrible. Michael Papp, for trusted sources. I don't think the crew understood they were painting the captain in a bad light. I got the impression they were just talking about stuff that happened and the reporter put a seriously negative spin on it all. I said, I hope. I saw a smirk from the reporter as they watched Mariner's old TNG-style shuttle warp off on the view screen. She looked at the captain as though she knew exactly what kind of drama she was trudging up. The only reason for the hostile line of questioning I can think of, most of the hijinks the Cerritos got into was the standard Trek theory. True, more or less. Even other Cali-class lower deckers said the Cerritos was like the Enterprise of their line. Yeah. The reporter could have praised the resourcefulness of Tendi and Rutherford as they rescue their chief of security. That reporter is digging up trouble to spice up her sensationalistic reporting. I have a feeling the Cerritos crew will do the same. Will do some damn fine starfleeting next episode to redeem them in the public's eye, or the episode will end in another cliffhanger. Yeah, the reporter definitely had a dog in that race, but I think the crew should have been able to detect the palpable sense of she thinks this is Mariner's fault in the air. You know what I mean? We weren't on our best behavior when we were doing our interviews with the reporter. But then we all look as Mariner is the one kicked off the ship. Just put two and two together. Right? The crew Ransom should have been like, wait, I said terrible stuff to the reporter. Just whisper that to Captain Freeman. Are you sure that it's just Mariner? Somebody step up for a second. I feel like that's what would have happened. I feel like the crew is slightly more complicit in this, just a little. But yeah, definitely Michael Papp is right here. The reporter had a nefarious goal here. And I mean, look, they called the episode Trusted Sources. So they want you to think about, the reporting. What was in the report was, the key of the episode. And you could have totally written that news story to make the Cerritos look awesome. I think it was cool. When they got to the sequel to this episode, the last episode of Season 3, I really thought that the meeting at Starfleet headquarters was going to be how you guys are heroes for discovering the Breen incursion. And how you guys did such a good job with Project Swing By because the first planet you went to had no problems. Isn't that great? That's a good thing. And you guys got to make a good first impression with Buen Amigo, because Buen Amigo got to show you the first test operation of the Texas class. I thought it went good, but then next episode, no. Yeah. Donny Pearson again for Why the Titan A Sucks. Hello, Lieutenant Mark. I thought that design was okay for me, but your version that I've seen earlier rocks. Keep up the good work. And, man, may you and yours live long and prosper. Yes, okay. This is edited, so I think I already read that one, but thanks. For some reason, I got, options here. I got rock on. Cool, thanks. And thanks, you too. Wait, what? It's just giving me a canned reply. I think I'll just stick with the heart and the thumbs up. I don't know. I thought maybe that would give it a strange emoji or something. I guess not. Trusted sources, Power Cage. I'm probably only gonna watch you talk about it. I probably said in this video just maybe watch the episode, but Power Cage doesn't want to, and that's fine. Power Cage again. Buen Amigo translate to good friend. Wasn't such a good friend after all. Robert Martin Jr. for Why the Titan A Sucks. I saw an Exeter-class starship concept in the 24th century. It combined elements of a Constitution refit and a smaller bridge element similar of the Galaxy class with phaser strips. I thought it was cool. Also, I really like the Narendra class starship. Yeah, okay. Thanks for being positive towards this video, Robert Martin Jr. I will have to spend the time later to look up these classes. I'm not immediately familiar with Narendra class. That would be named after an event in Star Trek history. Wouldn't Narendra 3 be where like where the Enterprise C fought the Romulans and saved the Klingons and the Romulans or something? Like Narendra, I know Viridian 3 is where they crashed the Enterprise D saucer section, I think. Narendra, that's for some reason that's saying Enterprise C to me. I'm going to have to brush up my history. Michael Papp, I'm so grateful to the heroic animators of the 80s. What grueling schedules they endured. What wonderful art they produced. Animators could easily take care of so many episodes a season with modern tech during the time they were allotted them. Way fewer mental breakdowns and animation errors would have happened for sure. Yet now animated seasons are shorter than ever. Ironic, as the Senate likes to say. Yeah, man, old shows used to have huge seasons. A season would last like 30 plus episodes. Like 30 was like a minimum. Like 20 was low back in the day, and now it's just you're getting 10 episode seasons. It's like padding it out. Like, oh look, we got 5 new Star Trek shows coming out. I mean, we've only created like 80 some episodes, 90 maybe. But we got, look at all these Star Trek shows, 90 episodes spread across 5 different shows because they only got 10 episodes a season. Wouldn't it be cool if we just had the new Star Trek show? Like, if we just had, this is the new Star Trek show, and it combines Lower Decks, Prodigy, Picard, Discovery, Strange New Worlds. Everything that would have been in them is hoovered up into the mothership of Star Trek, the next generation, like the new Star Trek show. And it was episodic, so all the terrible things that happened could just be brushed off as just being, it was just one stupid episode. I think that would be cool. I think we're ready for that again. I think we're ready to just take a break from 12-hour-long movies cut randomly into 10 different sections. Something like that. Michael Papp, you're absolutely right about the traitorous bastard peanut hampers episode being 9. Better story pacing for sure. I do disagree, however, about your assessment on the ending of the Alito. The whole fleet of the Cali class came together. The episode's ending was less about the tech of the Cali class or the ingenuity of the crew serving on them. It was more about the spirit of the Lower Decks. The Cali class is the Lower Decks of Starfleet. So like our Lower Decks main characters, all of the California class come together as one unit to defend themselves against a powerful enemy. Yeah. Lower Decks stick together has been a theme of this season. The episode was the culmination of that emotional arc. Lower Decks is a recurring chant in the show. It being replaced by Cali class exemplifies that sentiment. Yeah, your criticisms about them traveling so quickly, though, are spot on. I'm so annoyed now. I cannot unrealize that. Haha. Distance is important in space. And what you're saying here, I get the sentiment of Cali class pride saving the day from the Texas class. But my point was that we already had an episode of this season where I think it was the crew of the Carlsbad came off antagonistic to the crew of the Cerritos. And I think maybe if we had 3 or 4 Cali class show up and we set up another one, like we set up one of them or 2 more earlier in the season, and we showed how they were actually at odds with each other, and then at the very end have the characters come together. Like maybe one of the California class ships is so heavily damaged that the crew from the Cerritos board it, and they have to like help everybody out. And we see characters put aside their disagreements and their one-upmanship to help each other in the name of Lower Decks. Like I think the spirit of Lower Decks would have came through better if we won through ingenuity, the unique skills of the officers, and the hand-in-hand teamwork of different crews, rather than brute forcing it by just ganging up on the Texas class. I think that was my feeling. Michael Papp for Asylum, the first episode back when we returned to Star Trek Prodigy. Prodigy is for me too, man. I love the show. Yeah, it's for me, buddy. It's for me. I love it. Power Cage for Asylum, Star Trek Prodigy. Deadly Spirit of Digital Chaos is probably one of the coolest phrases I've heard in a while. I may have to jam that into my YouTube profile. Go ahead. I thought it was cool too. Michael Papp. The mermen hadn't seen the ship. They did see the transport though, which is enough. Asylum. Yeah. For Asylum, I went back and I watched Asylum, and I really looked at it, and you see the protostar like fly away, and then an ambiguous amount of time goes by in the context of the show, and we see the mermen breach the water and then look around. Like, did the protostar like get away that fast? Did it warp away? Did it go full impulse? I don't think it would warp that far into an atmosphere of a planet. Would it? For some reason, I just read it as they spotted a thing flying around. You know what I mean? Like it's not literally true. Like, you can't see them see the ship. But I thought maybe they did. So, from a strictly logical point of view, and from what we see on screen, you don't see the mermen see the ship. That's true, Michael. So thank you, Michael Papp. Michael Papp for Asylum again. I thought the protostar was in rotational synchronicity with the station. When the umbilical severed, the protostar simply kept rotating with the velocity and the momentum it had before. No. That would be true on powered flight. I saw no indication from hologram Janeway that the ship was on powered flight. Unpowered, uncontrolled flight. If you have an object like this and you spin it around, right? So say the station is spinning and the protostar is spinning around it. If you remove the axis here, the middle, the thing that's orbiting or rotating around it like this goes off with the velocity, which is a vector, so it's like speed and direction, that it had at the exact moment it lost its parent object. So it should go off on a tangent on whatever that moment was, that it became disconnected from this body of physics. So it should be floating away, right? But if it was on powered flight and at the controls of the protostar, you could set up so that it would just strafe around the station. It would stay how it was going. And it may do that in an effort to maintain the integrity of the umbilical. I feel totally insane for thinking about this that much in something that does not matter to anybody watching it and would not affect the episode in any way. But I rewound that so many times trying to understand how it is that the protostar is just orbiting the station, and like if hologram Janeway had control of the ship, then she would just say, "I'll stop the ship, and you can just, you just jump over, or I'll tractor beam you, whatever." But she doesn't. So that necessitates Rocktack doing the calculations to figure out where to jump. So that means Janeway had no control over it, which implies that either it's locked into the powered trajectory it had originally, the rotation, like you said, or its rotation in that orbit is a function of something else that I wasn't seeing. Things like if you like the Earth orbits the Sun in the Earth, the Terran system. If you delete the Sun, or throw it off balance, or obliterate it, or cause its mass to become more spread out, that would affect the axis upon which the Earth orbits. And if the Sun disappeared, the Earth would go off in a tangent, would it not? All of the things being equal, and no interference from other massive bodies in the solar system. Just say for hypothetically the Earth and the Sun. But that's also because of mass. So the station, it wasn't heavy. So it was if it wasn't gravity, then the protostar had a powered flight to try to stay circling the station. But I don't know, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Remember in TNG when Picard was willing to take an arrow to the chest and potentially die to attempt to preserve the Prime Directive? Also remember when violating the Prime Directive was a court-martialable offense? I miss those days. So do I. Taking the Prime Directive seriously, that's a good idea. And yet, all too often, we break the Prime Directive with little to no consequence. Yeah, I know, Power Cage. I feel ya. Michael Papp. Asylum. Prodigy. Jerry Goldsmith was the greatest of all time for Trek composers. Voyager's theme is triumphant in a way the show never quite lived up to for me. Plus he made that great Gremlins theme. Yeah. Yeah. The intro to Voyager is better than the show. That's how great it is. Thanks a lot, Michael Papp. And Jerry Goldsmith is my hero. Jim Light. Good grief. Why is every Trekkie so hostile? Do I sound hostile? Mean-spirited. Am I mean-spirited? Incredulous and nasty. Am I either of those things? I'm so sick of trying to find anyone who enjoyed this show just slagging it off and criticizing every little thing. Like, I don't know, he's saying that about my favorite new Trek show that I rewatch all the time. Did he watch the whole review? I'm so sick of trying to find anyone who enjoyed the show just slagging it off and criticizing every little thing. Even those little criticisms can be explained away or dismissed without it hurting the immersion much. Well, that's up to the viewer. 7 minutes in, and all he's done is badmouth every other Star Trek show, and then proceed to slag off Prodigy for not giving him enough reason to care about the whale. Something you even say Janeway criticizes because they're almost breaking the Prime Directive for doing so. Sick of this shit. Here's a challenge. Next review, do it without comparing, criticizing, or slagging off all the other shows in the process, please. 100 to 1 shot, you can't do it. I did it. The next review, it was easy. And you didn't come back for that one. I don't know. I see all kinds of people like enjoying the new shows. There's all kinds of people who watch the new stuff. I don't know. There's people who like both. There's people who like one over the other. I like Prodigy. I like Lower Decks. I like Strange New Worlds. That's 3 out of 5 of new Star Trek shows. It's I don't know. I really appreciate this comment. It's really important to me that you hang around and you become a friend. I don't know, Jim Light, if you're there, try watching my review for Let's Sleep in Bockelie. I made a point, just for you, of not complaining about other Star Trek shows in that review. I'm sorry, Jim Light. Michael Papp, the living construct only affects Starfleet systems. True. It wouldn't have bothered the Borg systems. That would have been a cool conclusion. What if the cube comes after the Prostar to get that weapon? Good idea. It really would have been cool to see the Borg cube go crazy and start destroying itself. Oh wow. Never too late. The Borg might try to replicate the weapon themselves. Could be we get to see the results while Janeway fights it. That would have been so cool. An easy logical error would be to replicate the device perfectly. It will attack the systems of the ship it's on. If the Borg build a living construct, it will be installed in their own living construct of a cube. Easiest way to implement it is to just hail the Federation the next time you see them, only they'll rebuild it exactly. The living construct is programmed to destroy the systems of any ship like the one it's on. Now that the cube is awake, it'll go find another Borg ship to upload info. Yeah. Maybe a fight between two cubes will light up her sensors. She'll go investigate. I hope this is what happens. That sounds like a good episode. I hope that's what happens. That would be cool. Thanks a lot, Michael Papp. You should be writing the show. Michael Papp again, for Let's Sleep in Bockelie. I'll bet we're starting to build a pattern of Admiral Janeway meeting up with whoever the Protostar Prodigies, that's my favorite baseball team, Protostar Prodigies, encounter the previous episode. Next one, we'll see the Admiral fighting the Borg cubes, maybe destroying it. She'll get info from the cube about the weapon, deadly only to the Federation. It will further reinforce her feelings of hostility for whoever was running Chakotay's ship. Yep. That's a logical conclusion. Thank you, Michael Papp. And finally, as of the recording of this video, the final comment to look at, Power Cage. Seeing your ship from the upright perspective in the skit sequence before the review began reminds me of the top of Rita Repulsa / Witch Bandora's palace. It reminds me of that too. This guy here, if he ever got a hold of Rita Repulsa's palace, I think he would just grab it right by its spiny neck and throttle it and rip off the little ball thingy at the top and crush it in his hand, that little ball that looks like Saturn or something. And yes, that is what my ship looks like. If y'all haven't seen it, Rita Repulsa is this character from this show where these people in colorful costumes pound on each other endlessly with plastic weapons, and there's monsters and stuff, and it's totally awesome, and it's my favorite thing. Rita Repulsa is the villain for Season 1. You may know her as Witch Bandora, which I assume is her name from the Japanese equivalent, Zoo Ranger. For those of you who don't know, Power Rangers, television show, the Western show, is adapted from a Japanese show series called Super Sentai. And if you watch Power Rangers, my ship, from the view that was at the beginning of Let's Sleep in Bockelie, did resemble the villain's headquarters, that being Rita Repulsa's. So, Power Cage, you are totally correct that it looks like that. And I love Power Rangers and Super Sentai, so thanks. Anyway, that's the end of our comment response video for today. Hope you all enjoyed it. Hope you all found it elucidating. Anybody who had a negative comment, I'm sorry you felt that way. To anyone who had a positive comment, I'm glad you felt that way. And I hope we can all meet somewhere in the middle and move forward from here. So, next week we're going to be looking at the next episode of Prodigy. And we're gonna see how it do, as it were. I'm Lieutenant Mark, and I'm going to see you at the next possible nearest Star Trek thing that may or may not be near you. Lieutenant Mark, is now about to leave this place. Get out of here.